evening from the Hostage Diaries. Today I'm going to discuss variations of accountability pertaining to many different jurisdictions and perspectives, and competent judgment based upon perspective or jurisdiction is one way to put upon this. Let's say we've got a bank, and the bank connects to other parts of the world. And most of the value, let's say the bank itself is sitting on something worth a certain amount of money within a system itself, but it connects to big banks elsewhere, big valuable banks elsewhere. So, one way to manipulate the system is to force the branch of the bank to act according to the system itself while deriving value from the totality of that system and then extracting value. Seems to be what's going on a lot of the time. And accountability for that is derived through overall alteration, mutation of the global system itself based upon vast expansion. Whereas the necessity or the understanding is not necessarily making a lot of sense. So, you've got a system itself then that protects itself by deriving health care from the system that it just looted. It's just strange. So we're digging holes into, Louisiana, horrifically mismanaged from way back when. Obviously, it had outside influences as a known commodity. It was the difference because it always had parishes instead, and that's why it's going to parish instead of, but it's a lesson. It was supposed to be a lesson, but hey, daredevils don't want no lessons. Moonshiners make their shit up, you know. We'll figure a way to cook the books, and we'll eat it. You can eat anything if you get the right, cooking it down long enough. That's what it's been about. Stewing it, stew it long enough until we can finally chew on it. Even if it's a diamond, we're going to figure a way to stew it. That's basically the mentality. We don't care. We're going to eat everything. That's what it's all about. Eat everything. So, then you got to figure out a way to, it might be difficult to digest, and that seems to be going what's going on. And digestion is a whole different problem of it. So, Louisiana was horrifically mismanaged. It is generating a ton of wealth, and it is inundated, overrun with chemical industry, and most notably, and there's a reason for that, because they want them under control, because it is utilized. It is the bank. It is a bank, like Waterboy. There's banks of a river, there's banks of a lake, liquid assets. It is a huge, valuable bank. And what's going on is they figuring ways to divert all of the assets and turn it into a desert. And that's what it's basically the Chihuahua Desert now because of the Gulf of Mexico manipulation of chemistry. And it's really, really strange. It's just the accountability. The problem is there's really no one with a vested interest. It would be like saying you let the babysitter or those that are, watching the dogs in charge of the going in the house and selling off the parts. That's what's going on. Basically, it's a chop shop. They went in and sold off the parts, but they're deriving value. They figured out a way. That's why there's a lot of chemistry there. And the chemistry is enhanced because it has connectivity. They figured a way to dig a tunnel into other jewel vaults. And they call it crude because it's not, the definition of this is all suspect, very suspect, because it's the uniformity of, it's all about worshiping the differences while being the same. It's a big oxymoron. Crazy, crazy. I'm looking at this from a banking accountability perspective. There's obviously something wrong. Most notably, it's because of the differentiation between individual wealth. Not every person has the same amount of money. Therefore, they're not worth the same amount. And the balance of every person has the same vote. So now the voting has turned predatory because of hate for the individual wealth. So there's battle. So now you got they unleash the predatory lawyers. That's supposed to be the difference between the controlling of land and it just doesn't make sense. It's bad business. So now the lawyers have destroyed everything, and it's just gotten beyond out of control now because of the accountability. And there's different types of countries everywhere. Everywhere should not be the same. You don't want to go well, the U.S. does. The U.S. wants a Walmart in every center sound, and they want 50 different U.S. controlled fast food restaurants so they can control the cash. That's all the USA cares about is controlling the cash. It's the franchise so they can control. They want to be master and they want to feed their dogs. To prove they're the master, and they got to figure a way to do that. But the problem is they're deriving a lot of their health care from the victims. So the victims are providing health care. That's that turn the other cheek, dumbass. See, the Catholics aren't very bright. Well, the problem is the Catholics. You've got a lot of dissension. They don't have a homeland. That's why Louisiana was also, and out west they really don't have a lot of control either. There's really not a lot of even though they provide a ton of health care. I mean, you look at all of they provide a ton of health care. Yeah, and it's just beyond. There's no really necessary there's no law of it just doesn't make any sense. So what happened was they turned to the system itself, which is only concerned about the system itself. It doesn't concern about the whole rest of the world assets. Louisiana was the law. I was supposed to be a grizzly who could play sides, be a balance, a bridge, the scales of justice, whereas I understood all perspectives, a judge. But I'm not allowed because I got screwed and beat so bad. And they're so valuable. What they're doing is they decided they wanted a lynching. I've been beat down by the lynch mob, passion fruits. You wanted the long lynching, and then they passed me around to make it safe for them. And healthcare was passed me around to some other people to be lynched by just the same. That's healthcare for the guilty. So they beat down the Louisiana law into a gummy bear. So where I can't do anything. Now they're afraid to let me go because they don't want to pay they don't ever want to pay nothing. And that's what it's all about. Deadbeat bums. They don't want to pay nothing for nothing. They don't want to pay no energy bills. They don't want to pay for no drugs. They don't want to pay for no women. They don't want to pay nothing. They just want to get paid to prove they are the master. They are the master. So, you've got this system that is preaching anarchy for the most part. We don't need no bank vaults. They want to emancipate the accounts. You don't need a bank. Burn down the bank and let the accounts be free so we can swoop in and pick up whatever ones we want. It's the emancipation of bank accounts. So they tear down all the banking, and I speak banking as a law, accountability, control. Most civilized societies control their wealth, but that we're not allowed to do that anymore. So now the only way to control wealth is to print more cash, it's a race. That's where it gets into just racing, right? More money, because then you got all the, it just doesn't make any sense. And there is an eventual cliff that the system itself is so far out of control, but nobody will admit it because they're terrified of admitting there's something wrong, because then if you question it a little bit, they know it's a house of cards, and that whole bitch could come tumbling down, and it's just so valuable. So they won't admit they're wrong because it's a house of cards. And then you don't want to start inspecting. They're terrified of an audit, terrified of an appraisal, terrified of paying their energy bill. So what do? They beat the law. They're a bunch of cop killers. The USA are proud cop killers. They know a law. See, you got to understand, law is balance and controlled mechanisms, not just or civil ordinances. That's, civil ordinance, stop sign, of course, there's certain ramifications to that. And there's different sorts too. There's got to be just, you've got to just, like in math, you're supposed to approve your work. They don't like proving anything here. It's just a miracle, Praise the Lord, miracle that it works. Don't understand. Nobody would question anything. How it works is they dig into Latin America and they dig into Europe, because that's where a lot of Louisiana is connected to Latin America and Europe. And I am the capital principal because of St. Louis Cathedral, King of France, which gives them a. And so what do? They take these individuals and they start from scratch. They use they use it begrudgingly, the healthcare, but they don't believe. They're atheists. USA are atheists. They don't believe in it. They but worship the system itself. They could give a fuck less about Europe. They could care. Latin America is nothing but food. That's all it is. That's food and easy money, cash. That's why they wanted to kill the bear. They wanted to kill the law and make it gummy bear so it's tenderized. They don't, it's just go. What steaks do you want to go pick up and eat down there in Latin America? So they had to chop the head off Europe by printing a ton of cash and then unleashing their unruly mob of the plague upon Europe. So they chopped that head off so it'd be some tenderized meat down there for Latin America. And Louisiana is just the credit card. We're the unlimited bank. So what do? They take things and then they superinflate the value. So they take it, and that's where it gets into. I pay billions of dollars to be part of a group that I didn't even know I was part of. So I'm paying billions, where some people are paying thousands. But then my billions make those thousands worth hundreds of thousands, but I'm busted down to zero. And so then those that are worth hundreds of thousands, that were originally worth thousands, are then use my health care to keep me buried and deeper and deeper and deeper as hostages, because they don't want to, it just doesn't make any sense. Whereas if you would have built a bank, but no, you gambled. You're gamblers, big time, high rolling gamblers. Kenny Rogers roasters, yep. They're Jolly Rogers. That's what it's all about. So they gambled on Daredevil. They wanted to play hardball. They wanted to gamble. They're addicted to games. They're addicted to drugs for the most part. And they're definitely, alcohol's like tap water. That's for chumps. They're into some really heavy drugs and some heavy-duty games and gambling. So, what do? You basically throw the biggest party in the world. It's a diversion tactic. You got the best drugs. Designer drugs, you got the best chemists. You can make anything up. It's printing tons of paper, tons of pills, pill mills, paper. You print tons of it. You got the best looking, easiest whores in the world that'll fuck anybody, and they got cool. The coolest motherfucking disease. You got the best spin doctors that will make your disease cool, Woo! That's magic there. And then print tons and tons of cash. You give anybody. Won't pay your bills. You are the biggest deadbeat bums in the world. You wouldn't pay the law 1 red cent. You won't pay your energy bill. It's solar, man. We praise the Lord. We get free energy. Hydro, it's wind, it's solar. Any way we can. Any which way but loose. They don't pay their bills to save, But they will pay any bum off the street a shit ton of money to be in the mercenary army to fight the law, fight the power, That's what it's all about. So now they've taken control of the bank. They've overrun. It's like that assault on Precinct 13. So you got the mob took over the law bank, and now they're they're printing tons of cash because they got the high value, they got my hand there, thumb printing on all these credit cards that they're printing. And they keep printing and printing and printing, and it's the Noah's Ark, drown the world in cash. Then what does it do? It dilutes the value. Therefore, it's a competition but see, the world is not all the same. Every country does not need to be the same. Europe is different from the United States. Asia is different. South America is different. But any doubt. That's why you can't have any doubt. You got to kill the competition and use the healthcare to validate it. So what they've done is they've plugged into this massive system. So the victims are actually providing healthcare, and what if somebody is guilty, then the victims is providing healthcare to the guilty to make that guilty better. You got to kill the victims or keep them real small and buried. That's what's going on. And how do they do it? Bury it under mountains of debt. Or, change the rules, send out your army of Louisiana Pacific Titans to attack and disorient, because you want to, like I said, you want to emancipate, you want to blow up all the banks, kill all the banks, you want to emancipate the account so you can go pick and choose what you would like to eat, that sort of mentality. It's just a stupid, stupid gamble. It all started, though, based upon, because it's valuation. It's like, what are you deriving from this energy? So what they've done is they've hijacked a fleet of Lamborghinis and Aston Martins and Rolls Royces and, a lot of exotic cars, and they chop them into pieces. So then they put a bunch of parts on the VW Bugs, on a fleet of VW, and so they started sticking a grill on there. We put an Aston Martin hood ornament on a VW Bug. Then they value the VW Bug as the Aston Martin because it's got a hood ornament there, so it must be, that's magic there. That's the magic, And then, it's also based upon the fuel. That's why Louisiana does a lot with fuel, is because of the fuel has a lot to do with it. And it's all this strange match game. Like when you were playing as a kid, you turn all the cards over, and if you find a match, you get to keep it. That's all it is. It's like the name, if it's the same, but it doesn't really, there's no substance there. That's why it doesn't really matter. There's no substance at all. That's why it's the Terminator, Rise of the Machines. That's what's going on, because who cares? It's what you drive, what you wear. Who cares who you are? It's possessions all that matters. But see, there's got to be a balance. There's a place for the games and there's a place for the law. But the law is being hijacked by the game's buddies. And then the loot is being thrown out like Mardi Gras. So I'm just trying to close off see, that's the problem. I am handicapped because I am trying to figure out what exactly went wrong. So we are being now manipulated into this. The problem is, it's just bad business. I mean, it really, really is bad business. I mean, it makes no sense at all. They're just tremendously cooking the books to where nothing really matters. And the healthcare is making it seem right. So you use the healthcare of the victims. And like I said, it's all tied into this uniformity circulatory system. As the system, so basically you're throwing a lot of high value parts into the game. Then the system is the creator. Then you build ranks off of the system based upon different variations of education or affiliation or all sorts of things. But it doesn't take into account who contributes what. So some people are paying a ton. I mean, an absolute ton. And some people aren't paying anything. Yet they're all treated the same. And the healthcare is a weapon, and the pills and the drugs. So you've got an individual who is an inflated value shell of what it really is. And the healthcare system derives global power, where it's not necessarily the same. So it's going to create cataclysms globally because of global trade. So it's creating this huge amalgamation, disorientation, cataclysm, because healthcare is validating the system and providing sources from the end. Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense necessarily whatsoever.